just to get things started, we'll, at item 4, we'll establish a chair and a vice chair, but just to get us started, I'll kind of take the lead. We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee for Wednesday, April 10th. And Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Thank you. Committee member Huffaker?
Present.
Usler?
Present.
And Bertrand is absent.
So we have a quorum. If there's any public comment on matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? That brings us to item 4, the appointment of a 2019 chair and vice chair. Staff, do you have a presentation? No? So we'll open it to discussion to the members.
I'd like to nominate Hans for chair.
I second that motion, and I appoint you as vice chair. Oh, I suggest.
Nominate.
Not appoint.
Can I ask how large is this committee total?
Three.
Three members.
So,
Can I second that motion? We have to second?
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I think the
Motion
motion
dies
is
for lack of a
that
second.
Hans will serve as chair, that Mr. Huffaker will serve as vice chair for 2019 Audit and Finance Committee.
That's one motion.
Yeah.
Yep.
I second that.
Unanimously approved.
That's how we roll here.
Mr. Usler, I will turn it over to you and step back into my quiet role.
Yeah. So I need an agenda because I didn't pick up my. Thank you so much. Okay. Approve regular meeting time, dates, and location. What's the preference of staff?
Okay, our preference would be, of course, is today, and then also on August 1st, we can go through the budget for the fiscal year 1920, plus 5 years projection. And then also on November 13th, and then at that time, we can go over the fiscal year 2018-19 financial result review.
Mm-hmm.
That's our proposal.
Yep. What does the vice chair think of this?
That makes sense to me.
And those dates are always matching up also with board meetings.
Not on August 1st.
Not on August 1st. Okay.
Okay.
What day is August 1st? What weekday do we know that? It's a Thursday. Okay. Yeah, that works for us.
If I can, 1 second, just to confirm the August 1st date. I'm out of town on August 1st.
Can you pick an alternate date? Can we do it on the same day as the operation board meeting?
Operations board meeting would be, let me see. Fourteenth? Okay.
Is that too late for you or reasonable?
It's
Aug-
reasonable, it's fine.
August 14th?
August 14th?
Yes, that would work.
Because the
Same
re-
date as the operations
day.
board meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason that we picked August 1st is because we want your
Review it
you
in
review the
advance.
thing, have
Yeah.
some recommendation, and then we might need to revise it before going to the operations board.
Sure. Or we could do it a week prior,
In July?
in July.
Yeah, week before.
Yeah, that would be fine.
So, August 7th?
Oh, no, sorry, I meant the week prior to the original proposed date. So doing the week of July 29th, one of those days, if you'll have it ready by then.
That would be fine.
Yes.
I think that would be the week of July 22nd.
A week prior to July
Correct.
25th.
So, July 25th?
July 25th.
That will be fine.
That'll be fine. I think July is, we usually go dark, so we can make an exception and just have the
Mhm.
audit.
Yes.
Yeah, we usually go dark as well.
Yeah. All right, July 25th, Hans?
Yes, no challenge here.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I move to approve staff recommendation with a change from August 1st to July 25th.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. With our third board member absent.
This is
Before,
gonna-
before we finalize our vote, just for the record, there's no public comment.
Yes,
yeah.
you're right. I apologize. No public comments.
Yeah.
Item number 6, review Monterey Bay Community Powers Investment Policy.
It's gonna be Tiffany's show today, so Tiffany, go ahead.
Okay. So we established the MBCP investment policy to provide a clear understanding and the guidelines in maintaining and investing the excess funds that we have with 3 primary objectives. The first one would be safety of principal, and then the second one is liquidity, and then the third one is return on investment, taking into account the investment risk constraints and then also our cash flow needs. So we would like you guys to, we attach the investment policy over there. And then on the policy, you can see that we have, we put like the objectives over there and then the delegation of authority. The treasurer, myself, will be the one to authorize to invest and reinvest our excess cash. And then we might also engage outside investment advisor if needed. And if we do, then that will be approved, that needs to be approved by the CEO, myself, the treasurer, and then also the board of directors. And then for the authorized financial dealers and institution, it must be licensed by the state as a broker-dealer, for example, like a national or state charter bank. And I have to make sure, as a treasurer, I will make sure that those banks are adequately capitalized, staffed by qualified investment professional, and then also agree by the condition set forth on our investment policy. And for the authorized investments, my proposal would be, number 1, the deposits at the bank. For example, we will invest our excess cash in the interest-bearing deposit or the investment accounts, such as the public fund money market and the insured cash sweep accounts or the certificates of deposit. The second one would be the U.S. Treasury obligations, include all the securities issued or guaranteed by the U.S. Treasury. Number 3 would be the federal agency or United States government-sponsored enterprise, the GSE. And then number 4 would be the obligations of the state of California or any local agency, rated in rating category of A or is equivalent or better by a nationally recognized statistical rating organizations, NRSRO. And then collectively, we cannot invest more than 20% of our portfolio. And number 5 would be the registered treasury notes or bonds of any of the other 49 states in addition to California. And the number 6 will be commercial paper of prime quality of the highest ranking or the highest letter or number rating as provided for by a NRSRO. And then for the commercial paper, we'll have a maximum maturity of less than 9 months. No more than 20% of our portfolio will be invested in commercial paper. And then we may purchase no more than 10% of the outstanding commercial paper of any single issuer. And no more than 5% of the outstanding commercial paper investment can be invested in the energy industry sector. And number 7 would be the repurchase agreements and shall be used solely as the short-term investment not to exceed 3 days. Number 8 would be the local agency investment fund for the state pool. It's managed by the state treasurer, and then we can invest up to the maximum amount permitted by the state treasurer. And number 9 would be the county investment fund for the county pool. And those are our proposal for the authorized investments. And then we do have a maturity limit proposal. It should not, the maximum maturity for our investment shall be limited to 2 years. And for the internal control, the treasurer, will be responsible to establish and to maintain the internal control structure. And then we will also engage the outside CPA firm to do the annual audit, and then the investment transactions will be tested. For the performance standards, we will achieve a market average rate of return, and then the investment performance will be calculated on a gross basis before fees and expenses, and then we will track it monthly for internal use. And then for the reporting requirements, I will provide the year-to-date investment summary to all the board of directors on a monthly basis. And then the summary will show the type of investment, the average balance of funds invested, and the average annual percentage yield. And then this investment policy will be reviewed at least annually.
Okay, I have a question. What are repurchase agreements?
If you look at page 8, we have the glossary about repurchase agreement. It's a short-term investment transactions. Banks buy idle funds from a customer by selling them the U.S. government or other securities with a contractual agreement to repurchase the same securities on a future date at an agreed-upon interest rate. And it typically for 1 to 2 days in maturity, and the customer receives interest from the bank. And then the repurchase agreement must be collateralized.
Mm-hmm. Is that a realistic investment that we should keep in the portfolio or not? My question is, doesn't it require a lot of attention to the market to consider that? And because it's so short term, I mean, when you look at the other investments, they are more, as you said, maximized 2 years, but more longer terms than 2 days. So I'm just asking, is that a realistic investment policy, or part of our, should be a part of our investment policy? Is that a realistic tool?
It will be one of the options, and then as we propose that we might engage an outside investor, financial investor, to help us to invest, and then so we just keep our options open.
This is generally something that an investment that the bank itself will be taking, and so in a sense, if we approve it here, we are saying to the bank, yes, you can go ahead and do the reinvestment with our money. So we're okay that the bank can do that. Then generally, the bank is going to be the one that deciding whether to make that investment or not.
And what is the overall portfolio right now that you think we should invest? Is this the reserve we're speaking about?
A combination of the reserves as well as the money that we have in the lockbox. We are earning interest on it now.
Mm-hmm.
So the assumption here is that the bank is investing that money on our behalf. That's why they can afford to give us a return on it. It's not as good as the return that we get on the money that we have in the money market fund or the account that are outside of the lockbox. But still, we're getting some money in. Yes.
Lower risk, right?
It's lower risk, and a bank really, in the agreements that generated the lockbox, we agreed that we're not going to get any interest on the money in the lockbox, but we definitely managed to negotiate a 1% return on that money. Took us a couple of weeks and a little bit of arm twisting, but the bank agreed finally to give us some earnings on that money. But the money that's outside of the lockbox, we are earning roughly about 2.5% return, which is pretty decent, relatively speaking.
I'd still like to get an idea of the millions of dollars.
Sure. Sure. Right now, we invested money in the ICS account, which is the insured cash sweep account, at 2.5%. And then we also invest money in the money market fund account. And also the lockbox that in the lockbox account that Tom just mentioned, total as of today, we are talking about $56 million that we have in the bank.
Very good.
And then our conservative calculation for the interest earned that we will have for this fiscal year will be a little bit over $1 million.
So I guess one of my questions, in terms of the Audit and Finance Committee's role, will there be any conversations about the investment approach as you're implementing these recommendations over time? So that's one question I had. And then the other, 'cause there's, as we talk about delegation of authority, there's some discussion in here about utilizing an outside investment advisor, that we may do that, but is that likely that that's going to be the case, that the plan is to bring in an outside professional financial advisor to help guide where we're investing that $57 million?
Yeah, I think so, and especially it's more likely that when we seek the advice of an advisor, it's going to happen around the time when we are ready to invest in something outside of the list that Tiffany just mentioned. For example, when we begin talking about investing in capital or issue debt in order to build a project, that's the time when we're definitely going to need a financial advisor. But usually at the time when you get the financial advisor, they can also give us a list of the things that we need to invest in that will keep our money safe, so to speak. For now, I think the list that we have right now that we're working with is quite decent, and it's gone through some rigorous analysis on the part of Tiffany. So if she needs advice at one point or another, I'm pretty sure she's going to seek it.
Yeah, I've found that financial advisors, even as we're planning for capital investments down the road, having started those conversations now, they can start planning where those investments are being made in such a way where we
Yes.
can leverage the market as best we can. So,
Yes.
And then, so going back to my first question about the Finance Committee's role, or even the Operations Board's role, in terms of how often we can expect to receive updates or have some conversations around implementing the policy over time.
My expectation is before we start actually investing in capital, then we'll be coming to you on quarterly basis, especially around the time when we do the budget, seeking approval from you first before we go to the policy board eventually. If we begin investing in capital and we need to issue debt, then your meetings are likely to be a lot more than quarterly, especially at the time when we are in the process of issuing the debt.
Then just one last question, more technical one. How is the market average rate of return determined or calculated?
Okay, it's based on the gross amount. And then so far, we have, our average rate is about 2%.
Okay.
And then it's stated on the treasury report on the monthly basis.
One of the topics that is being discussed in our communities is the concept of slow money and investment into reinvestment into local economies. And I don't know to what effect that has reached Watsonville yet, but I know between Monterey and Santa Cruz there are discussions like that. Is there room for a concept of reinvesting some of that into local organizations that propose slow money operations, which is basically leave the money local, don't put it into investment banks that are outside of the region, and we can. I'm not here to discuss the merits of those principles. What I'm saying is sharing that thought with you, because it could very well be that the board might, especially our policymakers on the board, they might know about that and they might come up with a question like that as well. So I am just not saying we need to amend it, I'm just saying, is this something that you have thought about, or is this something you'd like to get smarter about?
We have actually, we've actually received yesterday a request to have the policy board support, actually not the policy board, the Community Advisory Council support a bill that's been circulated. I believe it's AB 857, if I remember correctly, that will create People's Bank.
Yeah.
People's Bank is really to do exactly what you just mentioned.
Mhm.
Local bank that would invest
Yeah.
in local needs, and that bank would be funded by money that we CCAs and other organizations have in their reserves. So instead of
Oh, yeah.
putting it into B of A or
Mhm.
Chase or any of those national
Yeah.
banks, you put it into that local bank, and that bank will behave just like any of the
Mhm.
other banks, but they will be a little different, that they would be investing locally. We are looking into that bill to see if we want to push for it and support it. In general, we are investing locally by doing microgrids, for example, that are considered to be a local investment, by supporting Cal VIP, local charging stations,
Mhm.
pushing
Yeah.
for more EVs and electric buses. All these are investments not only that are local, but also relate to the business that we
Mhm.
are in, which we obviously need to be very closely adhering to making sure that we are investing in our business. So I hear you. I think it makes plenty of sense. That's why you've created this agency, in order to serve the local
Mhm.
interest and the local needs.
Okay.
And one more point is like number 9, the county investment fund is a
Yes.
very similar idea of that one.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, I tend to lean on, we should be maximizing our investment return opportunities, allows us to further our mission and our core work. When there's opportunities, of course, to do that in a way that allows for local investment, great.
Matt, could
I
you
don't
speak to the
necessarily-
mic, please? Thank you.
But I don't necessarily think it should be one over the other, trying to balance the two. And of course, I know that that's the spirit behind the policy. So I appreciate that. And I do think that the county pool, even the state pool to a certain effect, helps accomplish some of that. So
Thank you. Open it up to the public. Anyone of the public wants to talk about item number 6? Seeing none, make the motion to approve staff's recommendation for the Monterey Bay Community Powers Investment Policy.
so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 201. Any member reports and comments? Item number 7. Matt, anything you'd like to share with us?
Not today.
Yeah.
Enjoying the beautiful weather.
Seeing none, I close the board meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.